To learn about the industrialized and innovative transportation system of the late 19th century, 3 questions must be answered. The first, what new types of transportation were emerging during this period? The second, what were some early problems with these types of transportation? And also, how did it help change the lives of people living in the cities? The final question is, how did new transportation help the population growth in cities? The trolley car, or otherwise known as the cable car, was an important part of transportation during this period. Trolleys were self-powered rail vehicles that ran on tracks. They were immensely popular in urban areas like Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, and New York City that were growing and industrializing during this time. The invention of the subway was also monumental during this period. Subways were very efficient means of transportation, as you can see that they still exist today. The first subway system to open in America was in downtown Boston, which opened on September 1st, 1897. The subways helped with mass congestion on the streets of these new, major growing cities.
I'm all alone every night, how I moan and how I fight those days.
These new modes of transportation helped people from suburbs commute to cities much faster than ever before. The new electric streetcars were faster and more efficient than the old horse-drawn vehicles such as the omnibus that used to roam the cities of New York, Chicago, and Boston. Subways were also much faster and helped ease some of the congestion on the city streets. New York approved the building of their first subway system in 1894, but it was not opened until 1904. Some early problems with these systems were that trolleys did not help with congestion and traffic on the streets worsened, but the subway helped with this problem because they were built underground. The new transportation systems, which were faster and more efficient than ever, allowed for cities to expand out to suburban areas. Many immigrants flocked to America during this time and settled in these growing cities or in the suburbs. Many took the trolley car to their job at the factory in the city. Suburbs just outside the growing cities also grew because people could get out of the tough living conditions of the cities and still be able to commute to work. Essentially, advancements in transportation led to an expansion of the working district. As these new types of transportation grew in the early 1900s, the population of Manhattan increased by 16%, and in Queens, the population increased by an astonishing 160%. A political machine was a group or group of people that possessed and abused all the power of a city government. The machines were generally supported by a political party, and the machines provided favors or specific services for people in order to receive the vote for their candidate. Once elected, the boss, the guy that was elected, controlled the city government. He provided the community with jobs, legal assistance, food, and welfare, all to reinsure the citizens' vote. He would help members of the community in tough times, such as a death in the family, and made sure that people had heat to stay warm in the winter. He made deals with big businesses, took kickbacks, and became extremely wealthy. The machines had all the power in the city and used it for the sole purpose of self-benefit. New York was a growing city at the time and had many immigrants coming over from Europe to work in the factories. New jobs were available because industrialization was beginning to take off, and big business was becoming the forefront of the American economy. Many of the immigrants knew little or nothing about the United States once they came over. This set up an ideal opportunity for political machines to provide food and housing for the new immigrants. Bosses would often make secret deals with businessmen so that the business owners could get the working contract. For example, the boss would ask several companies to build a sewage system. and whichever company was willing to pay the boss the most would generally get the contract. These kickbacks were extremely illegal, and the boss would use the money for himself. Bribery, fraud, and money laundering were also many crimes of these bosses, obviously causing a great deal of corruption in politics.
Time to lose. Rice and shoes will spread the news that it's a holiday. Today's the wedding of the little painted doll.
The most famous of the Gilded Age bosses is Boss Tweed, who ran and controlled New York City for over a decade. He made illegal deals with businessmen and pocketed all the money for himself. In 1871, he was finally put in prison after being convicted of 104 counts of bribery and fraud. The second is Alexander Shepard, who became extremely wealthy after his dealing in the Washington, D.C. political machine. He set up a public works program where the highest bidder won. Boss Shepard received most of that money and took it for himself.